Modern, safe, welcoming. Get inspired at Poland.travel.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers won their fourth straight and 50th game of the season Monday night. They beat Cleveland 127-113 at Crypto.com. The surging Lakers are 13-1 in their last 14 games and were 15-2 in March. They also clinched a playoff spot in the Western Conference with last night's win. The Lakers are third in the West behind Oklahoma City and San Antonio. Luka Doncic had 42 points and 12 assists. LeBron dropped 14 points and added another record to his 23-year resume. LeBron has now played in 1,229 NBA games. He moved ahead of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar last night for the most games played in NBA history, regular season and playoffs. 2 years ago, LeBron passed Kareem to become the NBA's all-time leading scorer. The Clippers lost at home last night to Portland 114-104. Portland snapped the Clippers' 5-game winning streak. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Follow the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. All issues are wrong on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show because of its consequences and implications for our nation, our world, diplomacy, and the idea of coming together. It's Worldwide with Jesse Jackson Jr. on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our regular contributor, Pernica L. Da Silva, PhD, is an international scholar, practitioner in global affairs, diplomacy, media, peace building, and humanity and human security for 40 years of experiential knowledge and expertise in backroom negotiations in deeply divided societies. Currently, Professor Da Silva lectures at the School of Diplomacy and International Relations at Seton Hall University, and he's also visiting professor at the Faculty of Humanities at Solj Plate University, Kimberley, South Africa. I'm also honored in this particular hour that Dr. Da Silva has brought an extraordinary guest with him. John Bisiru is a seasoned security professional and former British Army officer with more than 3 decades of experience in military service, international advisory roles, and strategic security concerns, operations across Europe, Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. Gentlemen, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse. Glad to be on the show.
PL, listen, the President of the United States is addressing the nation tonight on the war in Iran. I certainly thought at the very outset of the conflict that he may have made a statement, provided a mission, provided goals and objectives at the beginning of the conflict, convincing the American people that this was a worthwhile venture. But something tells me every single day, both John and PL, that Donald Trump doesn't get to declare the end of this conflict. And he seems to be unilaterally declaring how long it's going to last. PL, why don't we initially begin with you? Your thoughts on the length of this conflict and just how deep and pervasive and problematic this unilateral action by the United States and Israel has been.
Yes, I mean, Donald Trump, Benjamin Netanyahu into this war, and now he's behaving like a cat on a hot tin roof. He doesn't know. He wants to get off that roof, but the roof is rather large, and he's really hurting, and it's going to scupper his chances in the midterm elections. And as my dear friend Yahya Ghanem said, he's a very well-known Egyptian journalist. He wrote an op-ed in TRT News. He said, the Iranians have the clock and time is on their side.
Pio, what does he mean by that? That seems to suggest that while the generals are on national television and international television here in the United States making the argument that they have substantially degraded Iran's capacity to defend itself, let alone conduct offensive actions or any kind of actions in the region, and that Donald Trump is now saying that there are only a few weeks left in this conflict, you seem to suggest that time is on their side. What does that mean in terms of the length of the conflict?
It means the longer the Iranians drag this out, the worse it is for Israel and the United States. And despite what currently serving generals may say, we need to listen to the veteran CIA and military officers who have really served in different theaters of warfare and held high office. And all of them are saying that the United States, if we deploy troops, whether they're Marines or 82nd Airborne or whatever, in Iran, it's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be like the Dardanelles. It's going to be like, Market Garden, a bridge too far. In Arnhem, I wrote an op-ed in at the beginning of all this in Al Jazeera Arabic, saying that this is a bridge too far for the Israelis and the United States. And the reason is this: the force structure of the United States has not changed since World War II. They're still trying to fight a 20th century war where a blue water navy and aircraft carriers project power. But we are in the 21st century. The Iranians are fighting quite a different war. They have got missile superiority, hypersonic missiles, and drones, and they are hitting the Israelis at will, and also United States bases, which according to the experts are 90% degraded in the region. The United States aircraft carriers are staying between 1,300 and 1,600 nautical miles away from Iran because they do not want to be hit by these hypersonic missiles, which could sink them. I've said this previously. And therefore, that negates the aircraft on the aircraft carriers because their range is 600 miles, right? So 300 going, 300 coming. And then when the Iranians take out 8 KC-135 refueling tankers, how on earth are you going to get your F-35s to get across into Iranian territory? They're actually staying away from Iranian territory and firing, JASSM, glide bombs and others, but not actually, plastering the Iranians over Iranian territory. And these are the facts on the ground. Whatever Hegseth may say, whatever Trump may say, I would say that they are lying to the American people and the world at large.
John, we have about 2 minutes before we come forward. That means our break on our show. About a minute, I'm being told by our producer right now. John, can you give us just a brief recap, and then we'll have a much longer segment when we come forward on whether or not it's going to be more difficult for the United States and what few allies we do have engaged in this conflict to get out. Easier to get in than to get out. John?
Yeah, of course. Apologies for that. I'm, as I say, in Nigeria, and we've just had a power cut, so the gen will kick in shortly. And we will, the camera will come with light. So, but yeah, absolutely.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More with PL De Silva and John Bisuru when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-345-2789. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems. And if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-345-2789. That's 800-345-2789 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-345-2789.
Ready to celebrate? Hop into Easter festivities with everything you need at Target. First, get ready for your special occasion with 25% off stylish looks. With spring vibes, vibrant colors, and fresh florals, you'll find outfits that match everyone's style. Then, fill up their baskets with endless joy. From select Easter plushies to fun toys they'll love at 20% off. Don't miss out. Make this Easter unforgettable at Target.
Indeed presents hires you can't afford to get wrong, like a warehouse operations manager.
Where are the forklifts?
Sold them. Too expensive. We're using scooters now.
So you expect us to move a 2-ton pallet on a scooter?
Just lean into it. Put your back into it, people.
This is your job for sponsored jobs. This is what happens when you don't sponsor your job on Indeed. Next time, get matched with quality candidates with Indeed sponsored jobs. Visit Indeed.com/hire now and sponsor your job today.
Paid for by government.
The 1986 to 2021 United States Silver Eagle, the first ever U.S. silver dollar minted in 99.9% pure silver and is the best-selling coin in the world. These original and historic silver dollars have ceased production forever. They will never be minted again. For a limited time only, full pound bags of original U.S. government-struck silver dollars are being released to the public. You can own a full pound of original U.S. silver dollar coins featuring Lady Liberty and the heraldic eagle, never to be struck again. Guarantee. Call now to secure original United States Silver Eagles by the pound. The first U.S. silver dollars ever to be struck in 99.9% pure silver. Plus, receive a free bonus, an American Collector's Pack valued at over $40 and free shipping with every order. Call 1-800-560-6468 now to secure your full pound bag of United States Silver Eagle coins before they are gone. That's 1-800-560-6468.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our two very special guests are our regular contributor, Dr. P.L. De Silva and John Bisuru. seasoned security professional and former British Army officer with more than 3 decades of experience. John, let me ask you a question. I don't know who to believe, and I don't think the American people know who to believe either. Now, I believe P.L. De Silva because I know him to be a seasoned security expert and operative, particularly in issues of backroom diplomacy. But John, if you were speaking to the American people tonight, and we're going to have our president addressing the nation, and you had to deliver the truth to the American people, John, what would it sound like?
Thank you, Jesse. I mean, as Dr. De Silva said, the important thing that I seized on was the quote, you have the time, we have the watchers. And that was exactly what the Taliban realized when there was the war in Afghanistan, that they could just run down the clock. And with the war costing the best part of $200 million a day, time was on their side. But also, I mean, as you said, Jesse, what's really important, I think, and this is actually a really seismic moment in our lives, with the announcement or the president's speech tonight, which I think is really the starting gun being fired on NATO. And Rubio has been laying the ground on that. And I think that this will be seen as a betrayal of Europe and the rest of the world with respect to this conflict that was initiated by by the US on Iran. And if you have a good plan, what I would say to the US people is that if you have a good plan, it doesn't necessitate a good outcome. But if you have no plan, and what I've seen is that there seems to be no plan in terms of how this would be launched and what the end state would be. If you look at the Iraq war, there was 6 months of General Powell particularly trying to deliver the coalition of the willing. The US committed 150,000 troops. The UK committed 45,000 troops. The rest of the other nations committed, another 50-odd thousand. So there was massive capability to try and win that war. This is going to be inordinately more complicated. It's a far bigger terrain. It's a more hostile terrain. There's a depth of support, not necessarily a breadth of support, but a depth of support that goes with the Iranian regime and the IRGC. Another thing that I would say, and this is less to the people, but more to the US government, is that in order to prosecute a successful war, the success of that is dependent upon the amount of support that you have in your society. If you look at World War II, there was 97% support by the US populace for fighting Nazi Germany. I understand that in the US, support for this is somewhere around 40-odd%. So there isn't actually the support there for this. And also, it's going to be very, very difficult for the allies to come and assist. And this is against really a political backdrop where allies have been consistently insulted by this administration. I mean, just, recent examples, President Trump description of MBS a couple of days ago, which I won't demean your show with, Jesse, describing the British Prime Minister as no Churchill. Other allies who fought alongside America in Iraq and Afghanistan being told that actually they were not involved in the conflict. 457 Brits died in that conflict alongside the Americans. And then bear in mind, of course, that it was the US that triggered Article 5 that led to that conflict being initiated. So at a political level, I think it's going to be very difficult for the US to get any political support from Europe, and then economically as well in terms of military support. The US, will be alone in this because Europe is weakened. We've had the war in Ukraine, which has been very heavy financially, but also in terms of what the ordnance store cupboard looks like for European countries. Prior to that, we had COVID. Again, with significant payments being made to the people to support them during this time. For UK and directly affecting the UK, but also impacting Europe as well, we had Brexit. And before that, we had the financial crisis. So Europe financially is really weakened. And then, of course, we're currently engaged in Ukraine. And there is this feeling of, why is Iran more important than Ukraine? Iran was actually strategically extremely weak. It had been boxed in. There were the time clock was running down for the regime, and now it's now getting stronger. The IRGC and the government, I think it was put into legislation, are going to be charging $2 million per tanker to go through the Straits of Hormuz, and they will use those funds to rebuild their regime, rebuild their military capabilities. And all of that is, to the detriment of the rest of the world, and particularly Europe and the Gulf states. So, I think that for the American people to hope that Europe can assist in providing some sort of military support or assist in delivering an off-ramp, I really don't see it, I'm afraid.
It's clear to me that if John were delivering the state of this conflict to the American people tonight, that he would clearly be delivering it with greater clarity and succinctness and accuracy than the President of the United States. PL, tonight I expect a lot of bluster. I expect a lot of talk about our capabilities, about what we've managed to do since the conflict itself began. But I don't see a way out, given that you made the argument at the top of the show that the clock is not on our side. How much longer can the regime survive? And how much longer can the Iranian people survive under the threat of the oppressive nature of what America is doing along with Israel? Israel is still a very uncomfortable neighbor in the region, and those politics don't change just because Donald Trump decides to pack up and leave.
No, you're absolutely right, Jesse. You're absolutely right. I mean, to address Israel and its capabilities, Israel, for the last decade plus, has been involved in a conflict focused on the Iranian proxies. So the Houthis, Hezbollah, the Assad regime, etc. And that has taken, and obviously Gaza, and that has really taken its toll on the Israeli military. And a couple of days ago, there was a statement made by, I think, the head of the IDF, stating that they were at breaking point. They were exhausted. They do not have the capacity to continue to prosecute this conflict. They called up 300,000 people. I understand that there was a 35% no-show in terms of those reservists that were due to attend. Subsequently, there was another call-up of 400,000 reservists. There was, again, a similar level of no-show. So I think that whilst this war in Israel started off to be a popular war, there were questions raised about how the war was being prosecuted in Gaza and the Lebanon, but Iran was seen as an existential threat to Israel. And so consequently, there was this initial support, but they assumed they would be living under the protective umbrella of David's Sling, Patriot, and other missile defense systems.
Iron Dome.
Iron Dome, exactly. You know, the other Arrow 1, Arrow 2, all of these systems that would, but those have now been exhausted. Iran has followed the strategy that Russia did in the Ukraine war, that you have missile superiority, and it's not about air superiority, it's about missile superiority now. And you saturate their air defenses. So a Shahad drone is $20,000 to $30,000 to build, but it's a $4 million effort to bring it down. You require 2 missiles, each costing around $2 million. So that's going to, you know, the economics are there in terms of how sustainable that is, as well as the manufacturing capacity to bring to deal with those. And that's been evidenced, you know, the weakness there by South Korea being stripped of its Patriot batteries. I think Germany's also been hit as well in terms of the ordnance that they've has been pulled out through Ramstein into to support Israel. So, you know, Europe and NATO, those, you know, the eastern front of NATO has in effect been stripped bare. So, yeah, it's the missile superiority is there, and that is what Russia has successfully done. But also, you know, you need to understand, you know, I say amateurs talk tactics, professionals talk logistics. That's the old saying. And to undertake a war like this, you require 3 times the manpower. You require 5 times the platforms, artillery or whatever, you know, other systems, and 16 times the ammunition. You know, those are the old rules of thumb in order of how you are going to mount an offensive operation. And I just don't see Israel or the US having that. Iran is vast. So I think the quartermaster's cupboard is looking pretty bare at the moment.
PL, we're about to just about 3 minutes before we come forward. I do want to ask you the same question. What can we expect to hear from the President of the United States tonight? I think John did an extraordinary job of giving us an initial sense of it. Today we have on KBLA Talk 1580 our policy experts, what we should be hearing from the President of the United States. PL, we have about 2.5 minutes before we come forward.
President Trump is going to manipulate the markets, and I think that's his primary concern. He's not concerned about whether young Americans go and die in Iran. He doesn't care about squandering billions of dollars, you know. So the US is going to lose blood and treasure for his hubris. And what he really cares about is the greenback. And he has now made this grandiose speech saying that we are retreating actually in 2 to 3 weeks time, and the markets all these casino guys, it's like a casino economy. They're just waiting on what Trump says. But the problem is that every word that comes out of his mouth is a lie, and it's not true. He's delusional. Truly, he's truly delusional. But he's quite geared in towards manipulating the markets. And you can see how friends and family and friends have been making money on Polymarket and Kalshi, the betting site, the political betting sites, which is a criminal offense. They should be in jail for insider trading.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guests, Dr. P.L. De Silva and John Basuro, will be with us when we come forward. But just before we do, I got another 10 seconds. I don't expect to hear anything from the President of the United States that makes as much sense as what I just heard from our 2 policy experts right here at KBLA. More when we come forward on KBLA 1580. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr.
It's Afternoon Drive Time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell says the NFL will continue enforcing the Rooney Rule despite a potential lawsuit from Florida's Attorney General.
The Rooney Rule's been around a long time. We've evolved it. We've changed it.
The policy requires teams to interview minority candidates for top jobs, and Goodell says the league plans to engage on concerns that it could lead to race-based decision-making. Black Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass has unveiled a new 53-unit affordable housing project for veterans in West LA near the VA Medical Center. The development is part of a larger push to expand housing, with thousands of units underway through her initiative to streamline approvals. And rapper Megan Thee Stallion is recovering after becoming ill during her Broadway performance Tuesday night. She was taken to a hospital where doctors treated her for exhaustion, dehydration, and low metabolic levels. Her team says she has since been discharged and is expected to return to the show Thursday. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Are you looking for your next European adventure? Think Poland. From its historic cities to all of the UNESCO landmarks and its incredible food. Modern, safe, welcoming. Get inspired at Poland.travel.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers won their fourth straight and 50th game of the season Monday night. They beat Cleveland 127-113 at Crypto.com. The surging Lakers are 13-1 in their last 14 games and were 15-2 in March. They also clinched a playoff spot in the Western Conference with last night's win. The Lakers are third in the West behind Oklahoma City and San Antonio. Luka Doncic had 42 points and 12 assists. LeBron dropped 14 points and added another record to his 23-year resume. LeBron has now played in 1,229 NBA games. He moved ahead of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar last night for the most games played in NBA history, regular season and playoffs. 2 years ago, LeBron passed Kareem to become the NBA's all-time leading scorer. The Clippers lost at home last night to Portland 114-104. Portland snapped the Clippers' 5-game winning streak. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, aka the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
We're at Doolin's on Crenshaw. It's a special place where the neighborhood comes together. Got the fried chicken, the catfish, the candied yams, the mac and cheese. It's all delicious. I'm Isaac Bryan. I represent the Crenshaw District in the California State Legislature, and I'm supporting Tom Steyer for governor of California. California is under attack, and we need a fighter who's going to come in on day one and stand up for California values and push back. That person is Tom Steyer. Tom and I have been fighting together for the better part of a decade. Tom is the only candidate supported by Smart Justice, because Tom has stood on the front lines of racial justice, economic justice, and true solidarity. Tom is the real deal. He's the only candidate in the race with a comprehensive plan to make the billionaires and the corporations pay their fair share so we can fund things like universal health care and education. He means what he says, and he does what we need. This is a moment when we've got to fight fire with fire, and I believe that fire is Tom Steyer.
Ad paid for by Steyer for Governor 2026.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordoli Corte. Less than 24 hours before a planned California governor's debate, USC and KABC Television Channel 7 pulled the plug after a week of growing outrage that not a single candidate of color had been invited to participate. USC says it was just math, polling numbers, fundraising totals, nothing personal. But here's the problem with that argument. Every one of the 6 candidates who made the cut was white, and every one of the candidates left out was not. At some point, the outcome is the message. regardless of the formula that produced it. The 4 excluded candidates, former U.S. Health Secretary Javier Becerra, former L.A. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, former State Controller Betty Yee, and State Superintendent Tony Thurmond, are not fringe figures. These are people who've won major statewide elections and served millions of Californians. Here's the deeper lesson. California is one of the most diverse states in the nation. Latino voters, Black voters, and Asian American voters don't just live here. We decide elections here. When the people organizing a debate about California's future build a stage that looks nothing like California, they're not just making a scheduling error, they're sending a signal about whose voice matters. Even some of the invited candidates called on USC to expand the field, ostensibly because they understood what was at stake. That said, it is worth noting that none of the invited candidates had the courage to stand in solidarity with people of color and bow out of participating in the debate. But we'll leave that alone for now. Canceling the debate was not a victory. It was damage control. The real lesson is that diversity cannot be an afterthought in the criteria. It has to be baked into the thinking from the very beginning. Voters of color are not a special interest. We are the electorate. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. As always, we welcome your feedback.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. P.O. Da Silva is a regular contributor at Al Jazeera Net, Q News, Cairo, Egypt Satellite TV channel broadcasting in English 24/7, Al Kahira News, Cairo, Egyptian Satellite TV channel broadcasting in Arabic 24/7, Interpress, NIPS, and Depth News. Dr. Da Silva, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse. Glad to be on the show.
And John Basiru, after completing a master's degree in defense economics at the University of York in 1997 and further training in finance and business management at the University of Westminster in 1998, John moved into the private security sector. John, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse. It's a pleasure.
Gentlemen, we have about 6, maybe 7 minutes in this segment before we come to the top of the show after our next break. I did want to ask this question since PL raised it about the president's speech likely tonight having something to do, obviously, with bluster and lies, but also with market manipulation. It's clear to me, John, in this conflict that the Iranians do not have the ballistic capacity to reach the continental United States. So that's not necessarily something that we're talking about. Obviously, they can strike out at our allies in the region. According to Dr. Da Silva and yourself, great damage is actually occurring to our interest in the region as a result of the vastness of Iran. But they also have something that we haven't quite seen before, a third world country that too is interested in market outcome. And so when we think about Kharg Island, we think about the Marines who the Iranians have suggested they are going to burn should they enter or land on Iranian territory. And we think about the number and percentage of oil that actually hits the global market through Kharg Island and the size of Kharg Island. Is it quite possible that the Iranians are setting a trap for the Americans and for the global economy should the Americans land on that island? John?
Absolutely. I mean, the ramifications of this are going to be so significant. I mean, just to revert back to your initial comment, Jesse, the old saying, and it's, I don't think, ever been truer than it is today, that the first casualty of war is always the truth. And, we really are seeing that. But in terms of what is going to happen, should the Americans commit further, and also the impacts on the rest of the world, I think it's fair to say that the immediate shock that we're seeing now is essentially on the oil and gas markets. Sorry, we've lost power. But I think what we also need to realize is that there is going to be a much deeper shock that's going to come from the lack of movement of downstream chemicals, which are used in fertilizer, and also the subsequent industrial disruption that's going to result from that. You mentioned also that Iran's ballistic missiles are unable to reach the US. And that's absolutely true. But as Dr. De Silva said, the most important thing to this administration are the financial markets and the infrastructure that has been devastated in the Gulf region. The oil infrastructure and other facilities, port facilities, transport facilities, air hubs, financial infrastructure. That is going to take a significant amount of time to be rebuilt. But even when that's rebuilt, the other impact is credibility. And I think that the US will have lost credibility with its allies and around the world. So whilst the Gulf is carrying at the moment the greatest pain, Europe and the rest of the world will still feel the financial aftershocks of this. So, and also, I mean, the other thing to remember is, the US has a very, very significant military-industrial complex, which, it's developed over decades. But the reason that industrial complex has become so powerful and matured in the way it has is that people generally buy weapons from those that they fight with. And the US has always been seen as a reliable and trusted ally. And I don't see that being the situation anymore. So whilst Europe and other countries may well spend much more on defense, reaching their 3% GDP targets on defense, I see an ever-shrinking percentage of that being spent on US products. And that was also a bit of the quid pro quo with Europe and America's allies, that, we didn't spend quite so much of our GDP on defense, but what we did spend, a significant proportion of that went to the US. And I think that as this war accelerates, which I think it will, because you need two parties to agree a truce, and we'll see. And Iran shows absolutely no interest in participating in a peace process. There are too many unanswered questions that, such as unfreezing of assets, reparations for war damages, their missile capability and the continuation of that. So, their regional proxies, what happens in Gaza, places like that. None of these things have been addressed. So, I think this is way more complicated. And as I said earlier, I don't see any of this being addressed in tonight's speech by the president.
PL, the disruption of global oil supplies should the Marines land at Karg Island and the Iranians choose to, not only defend it, but also potentially directly target global markets by disrupting global oil supplies for at least a decade. PL?
So the thing is this, it's just not what we see up front, right? Oil and gas, fertilizers, feedstocks, and food stuffs getting into the Gulf. It's also the bond markets. The US bond markets, if this thing goes south, and it very well will go south, and what would happen then is if the interest rate goes up above 5%, which it has, and then came down, and it has the potential of going further up above 5%. It means that the United States, the ability to borrow and do debt servicing becomes well nigh impossible. And that is the thing that's going to strangle the United States economy and the Trump administration. And that there are no quick fixes for things like that. And the only way truly out of this morass is to negotiate in good faith with mediators who are willing to play honest brokers, and all this bombastic stuff and saber rattling and moving troops here and there, and hoping that he can stay on for another 3 weeks till the George Herbert Walker Bush aircraft carrier arrives in theater. This is a drowning man clutching at straws. And none of this is going to help stabilize the situation and also the global economy.
PL, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We have two of the most important policy experts in the world on the subject matter of what's taking place in the Gulf. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Michael's Daughter Foundation is dedicated to inspiring youth and resilience through storytelling, arts, filmmaking, and enrichment programs for youth and families in under-resourced communities and system-impacted individuals. The Michael's Daughter Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit providing free and low-cost arts programs to youth and families from under-resourced communities, both system-impacted youth and those affected by the incarceration of a loved one. 1 in 43 children in America have a parent incarcerated. 70% of those children are expected to end up in prison. Through filmmaking, animation, theater, and writing, they help young people express themselves, build confidence, and imagine new possibilities. Beyond the arts, they offer financial literacy workshops, emergency support, and scholarships. Because thriving takes more than talent, it takes access. To learn more about the impact of Michael Daughters Foundation and how you can be a part of the movement, please visit their website, michaelsdaughterfoundation.com. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Getting around LA doesn't have to cost a lot. Metro has fares that fit every budget. 20 free rides for qualified riders through the Life Fare program. Free passes for students with GoPass and affordable options for everyone in between. Wherever you're going, Metro's got you covered. Visit metro.net/fare programs. What if your rooftop could earn you money every year? With LADWP's Solar Rooftops program, you can get solar panels installed and maintained on your home at no cost and earn up to $900 a year. That's up to $18,000 over 20 years. There are no upfront costs, no credit checks, and no annual fees. Plus, you'll help power Los Angeles with clean local solar energy and reduce reliance on fossil fuels. Make your rooftop work for you. Apply today at ladwp.com/solar rooftops.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Tired of being locked out of job opportunities and shut down by systemic racism? KBLA Talk 1580 stands with you in fighting for the rights of black workers, and we don't black down. The Los Angeles Black Workers Center is a dynamic alliance of workers, organized labor, community-based organizations, clergy, students, and scholars working collectively to improve the position of the black working class. The LA Black Workers Center takes a comprehensive approach to addressing the black jobs crisis. Their programs promote access to quality jobs, racial equity in hiring and retention, discrimination-free job sites, and they prepare black workers for employment in high-wage career track jobs. The LA Black Workers Center supports workers who need help protecting their rights on the job. They give workers access to quality jobs and remove systemic barriers to employment. And they are advocating for a fair deal for Black workers in the new Los Angeles City Charter. To sign up for free career readiness training, get involved in organizing, or learn about union apprenticeship programs and trade registries, please visit lablackworkercenter.org. That's lablackworkercenter.org. Together, we can beat the Black jobs crisis and build a more equitable Los Angeles. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We've had an exciting program with P.L. Da Silva and John Bisiru, seasoned security experts, both of them in backroom diplomacy and service to their respective nations. Gentlemen, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse.
I do want to make this one point before we take our final question and of course, hopefully close on a word of hope. In Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech Beyond Vietnam, he made the point that the resources, PL, that we need domestically in the United States after a brief war on poverty, addressing housing and healthcare and the jobs crisis here in the United States, he raised a profound concern that those resources were now being used to bomb peasants in Vietnam, and therefore he could no longer be silent. The resources that we need for the Affordable Care Act, the resources that we need for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, the resources that we need to rebuild communities here in the United States are now being spent to the tune of $1 billion a day in Iran, with a request from the President of the United States for an additional $200 billion. And suddenly this Congress can't find money to expand the Affordable Care Act to include dental, to include hearing, to include vision in the Affordable Care Act, because the resources are available for the conflict overseas, but they are not available for domestic programs here in the United States. And Dr. King became particularly unpopular when he raised these points. PL, I see the same dilemma today because having just completed a campaign for Congress myself, I was winning in my congressional race on the economy. I knew the district better. I knew some of the aspects of the district that needed to be connected to the global economy. And for the first time, maybe in the history of the South Side of Chicago, I actually led a campaign on connecting people to the global economy. But in the last 90 days of the campaign, the massive amount of spending that came in from the outside, particularly the non-transparent spending that came in from the outside, was directly tied to this conflict in the Middle East. And yes, it was determinative in congressional races across this country. PL, should we be concerned going into the midterms with what's taking place in the Middle East?
This is the play of the 1% Epstein class. These are the billionaire friends of the president. And Epstein, don't forget, is a massive global Mossad operation. Because no one man could have created such a vast network to penetrate the United States government from top to bottom, and also the royal families of Europe and the UK, and also their parliaments and their parliamentarians and prime ministers, and their army commanders, if I'm just thinking about Norway. So all of this is the work of the 1% Epstein class. And it's like Miriam Adelson and AIPAC and others who have been buying off our legislators for decades. And now they're calling in all the investments, so-called investments, quote unquote, which is basically corruption. and wanting America to support the illegal settler colony in the Middle East, which is Israel, and their crazy Zionist expansionist agenda, of a greater Israel, which is pretty much like, Hitler's Lebensraum, that he wants living space, living room. And it's the same kind of blood and soil, Blut und Boden, that the Nazis waged, that the Zionists, the extreme right under Netanyahu, are waging in trying to kill all the Palestinians, kill the Lebanese, kill the Syrians, the Afghans, and the Iranians. I mean, there's no. It's so short-sighted and doomed to failure, but they are messianic and crazy enough to go through with it.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask John our final question, if I might, PL. John, you've been a patriot for your country. You've been a security professional. You've studied international affairs and defense tactics, as well as economies around the world. Is there hope in this moment for the idea of diplomacy and multilateralism in resolving conflicts in the general area of peace and justice? John, our final thoughts with the final 4 minutes of our program.
Sure. Thank you, Jesse. As at the moment, in order for negotiations to occur, there has to be trust between the parties. And when negotiations were happening the last time, when the US used their B-2 fleet to strike Iran's nuclear facilities, negotiations were underway. There were talks. And it's the old adage, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. So I think it will be very difficult for Iran to actually trust the US in any negotiations. Then, of course, you've got to find a mediator. The Pakistanis have come forward as possible mediators, but I think there's a level of distrust between Iran and Pakistan over and I think that originated from the vessels that Iran let out through Pakistan, but actually found their way to the US. And the other mediator in the region, Qatar, obviously has been embroiled extensively in this conflict, with its LNG plants being damaged. That I think is going to be, near enough $20 billion to rebuild, plus the time that it's been down, which will be, years. And there's obviously the opportunity cost and lost revenue that goes with that. The Omanis or the Turks are possible negotiators in this, and we can only pray that that a peaceful way can be found forward to end this conflict. But the other thing is that it's really not in Iran's interest for this to happen. They've humiliated America. Really sad as I am to say it. In terms of how this conflict has unfolded, they are in the ascendancy, whether we like it or not. They are now receiving revenues, letting ships through the Straits of Hormuz. Any dissent in Iran is not really talked about now. So they are in a very, very strong position. So and to come back, to how we opened the show, the Americans have the watches, Iran has the time. So I can't see, sadly, and it pains me to say it, any immediate or short-term resolution to this problem.
John Becerra has been our very special guest. Becerra, I'm going to get that right, Madam. And Dr. P.L. Da Silva have been our guest in this hour. I'm so grateful, gentlemen, for both of you for your contribution and helping us have a lens by which we interpret the President of the United States' speech tonight before the nation and before the world. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much, Jesse.
Thank you so much.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward right here on KBLA.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell says the NFL will continue enforcing the Rooney Rule despite a potential lawsuit from Florida's Attorney General.
The Rooney Rule's been around a long time. We've evolved it. We've changed it.
The policy requires teams to interview minority candidates for top jobs, and Goodell says the league plans to engage on concerns that it could lead to race-based decision-making. Black Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass has unveiled a new 53-unit affordable housing project for veterans in West LA near the VA Medical Center. The development is part of a larger push to expand housing, with thousands of units underway through her initiative to streamline approvals. And rapper Megan Thee Stallion is recovering after becoming ill during her Broadway performance Tuesday night. She was taken to a hospital where doctors treated her for exhaustion, dehydration, and low metabolic levels. Her team says she has since been discharged and is expected to return to the show Thursday. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Are you looking for your next European adventure? Think Poland. From its historic cities to all of the UNESCO landmarks and its incredible food. Modern, safe, welcoming. Get inspired at Poland.travel.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers won their fourth straight and 50th game of the season Monday night. They beat Cleveland 127-113 at Crypto.com. The surging Lakers are 13-1 in their last 14 games and were 15-2 in March. They also clinched a playoff spot in the Western Conference with last night's win. The Lakers are third in the West behind Oklahoma City and San Antonio. Luka Doncic had 42 points and 12 assists. LeBron dropped 14 points and added another record to his 23-year resume. LeBron has now played in 1,229 NBA games. He moved ahead of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar last night for the most games played in NBA history, regular season and playoffs. 2 years ago, LeBron passed Kareem to become the NBA's all-time leading scorer. The Clippers lost at home last night to Portland 114-104. Portland snapped the Clippers' 5-game winning streak. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader. KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader. If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580. That's right. Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580. We've got a lot to talk about. By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. Got your black.
Following the leader.
Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Before we bring up a regular contributor, I'd like to just unpack for just a moment some of what we heard the last hour. We are sure not going to hear that tonight in the president's speech before the nation. And that's shameful. That we don't trust the president of the United States to be able to deliver the truth to the American people, that American lives are in harm's way, and that the president of the United States has yet to provide a justifiable rationale or reason for why these various fleets are in the Persian Gulf, why we find ourselves defending international commerce in the Straits of Hormuz, why other straits in the region and the Houthis are now talking about blocking international trade in other theaters of commerce. And tonight, I expect to hear a speech full of bluster, the kind of bluster that we've heard from the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. By the way, I'm tired of looking at this guy. I mean, the suits are too tight. The disposition is all jacked up. The patriotism is not believable, or it's artificial. I'm not going to comment on a person's faith, but I just don't believe it. And mind you, this entire conversation is taking place during the Passover season, when people found themselves thousands of years ago being freed from oppression, and it actually led to the Exodus story in the Holy Bible. This is the context. And on the Christian side of the equation, the brown-skinned Jewish liberator named Jesus of Nazareth will be crucified tomorrow in the Christian calendar and resurrected on Sunday. Do you think the President of the United States will even reference the high holy season that we are in his remarks tonight to the nation? Is he even paying attention to the Passover, to the resurrection season, to the crucifixion of Jesus of Nazareth? I doubt it. I doubt it. I expect to hear a commercial tonight of some bluster. And PL Da Silva in the last hour made it crystal clear that the United States is running from the region. We are not leaving the region. We are retreating from the region because we have misread Iranian capacity to fight and damage critical infrastructure in an entire region. In this hour, I'm particularly honored that joining me in conversation will be none other than Dr. S. Todd Eury. Dr. Eury is both a minister with a PhD and a lawyer. He practices in courts and courtrooms across the United States, as well as preaches every Sunday morning. I often say that he has one foot in reality and the other foot in both the church, grounded in faith and justice. Dr. Eury, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Always good to be with you, my brother. These are truly ominous and curious times, but glad to be able to be in conversation with you.
Dr. Eury, we have about 3 minutes before we come forward. Maybe at the top of our show, I should ask you a simple question. I already know what you're going to say. Is this where you want to begin? Is this where we go with this today?
Okay. Since you already know. Thank you for the disclaimer and the warning.
What's the president going to say tonight? What are your expectations of his speech? And where will he fall short inevitably?
Yeah. All right. So since you've already said it, here's what I expect. It's going to be a self-serving speech. And so it will be a tell as to where he feels most politically vulnerable. What we do know is this president does not play poker well. And so since we've already ruled out anything that's reasonable or practical, then we have to kind of think about what would a narcissist do? It's interesting that as you raise this speech, it will coincide with the beginning of Passover this evening. There may be indeed some pandering to Jewish adherents because of the prominent role. This isn't just a U.S. exercise in the Middle East. Israel is prominently engaged and involved. And so I think there will be a bit of that. There will be some passive effort to try to calm the angst, though his words that we've heard over the last several days, even weeks, are going to betray that. So it will be more of the curious and the confounding at the same time. And at the end, we will have no more answers after his speech than we do right now, except to wonder When will he decide that he's had enough and decide to take his toys and go home?
You know, what kind of leader says that when I feel it in my bones, this conflict is going to be over? It's not following any kind of plan. And historically, Dr. Uri, I know we have just about 50 seconds before we come forward. Historically, presidents lay out the mission to the American people on the front side of the conflict, not on the back side.
You expecting a response to that?
About 30 seconds left. Yes.
Competency is a thing until it's no longer a thing. And so associating the presidency with some level of competency, even though we don't necessarily agree with it, is not where we are, it's not where we've been, and it's certainly not where we're going.
We expect much more from Dr. S. Todd Uri, who's one of the great contributors on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. So grateful for his leadership, his clarity, his moral vision, and the fight that he continues for justice, not only domestically, but around our world. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Dr. Uri when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
They say time flies when you're having fun. The founding members cohort is now officially over. Hard to believe. It's been a joy sharing what I've discovered after nearly 40 years of conversations with presidents, cultural icons, and game changers in every field of human endeavor. If you missed the first cohort, the good news is that we're already planning the next one. Now, the seats will be limited, and those on our waiting list will receive exclusive early access and special discounts not available to the general public. So, if you are ready to transform the way you connect, lead, and build trust, do not hesitate. Go to TavishTalks.com and join the waiting list today. That's TavishTalks.com. The next cohort is coming. Make sure you are in the room. I'm Tavish Smiley, and I hope to see you there.
Ready to celebrate? Hop into Easter festivities with everything you need at Target. First, get ready for your special occasion with 25% off stylish looks. With spring vibes, vibrant colors, and fresh florals, you'll find outfits that match everyone's style. Then, fill up their baskets with endless joy. From select Easter plushies to fun toys they'll love at 20% off. Don't miss out. Make this Easter unforgettable at Target.
Indeed presents hires you can't afford to get wrong, like a warehouse operations manager.
Where are the forklifts?
Sold them. Too expensive. We're using scooters now.
So you expect us to move a 2-ton pallet on a scooter?
Just lean into it. Put your back into it, people.
This is your job for sponsored jobs. This is what happens when you don't sponsor your job on Indeed. Next time, get matched with quality candidates with Indeed sponsored jobs. Visit Indeed.com/hire now and sponsor your job today.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-345-2789. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems. And if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-345-2789. That's 800-345-2789 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-345-2789.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Dr. S. Todd Eury, a civil rights attorney, public policy advocate. Dr. Eury holds a deep belief that honest dialogue creates opportunities to form strategic partnerships that strengthen families and communities. He was a senior advisor to the late Reverend Jesse Jackson and a member of the board of the National Action Network under the leadership of Reverend Al Sharpton. Dr. Eury, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
We've jumped in the deep end of the pool. Good to be with you. Hopefully, I won't have to try to forecast insanity as with your first question.
I'm going to throw you a life raft. On the 405, the 101, the 10, the 110, the 5, and the 118, if you just take a moment, even if you're in Chicago on the 94, the 80, I-57, I-294, and I-55, and look at the gas meter, if you will, in your car, and these decisions that you're making to only add a quarter of a tank or to add a half a tank or to fill up, gas on the West Coast is about $6 a gallon. In some parts of Chicago, it's $4, $4.50. In other parts of the country, it is expected to spike and continue to rise as gas approaches more than $100 a barrel. And yet, Todd, when I ran for office most recently, the issues of affordability were at the heart, Todd, of my primary campaign. Issues of speaking about cost of eggs, the cost of bacon. Our previous guests have made the case between fertilizer that comes from petroleum products in the Strait of Hormuz. Is it likely or not likely that the President of the United States will address issues of affordability and the relationship between his behavior and what he has done to make life more unaffordable for the American people with his preemptive strike and actions?
Well, first answer that comes to mind is the one that we are taught early in law school is the answer to every profound question, and that is, it depends. And here's what it's dependent upon. Where has this president calculated his needed response to serve his primary and in many instances singularly identified self-interest? What we've heard recently is the temporary spike in prices. I think you may have heard it yesterday or the day before when he did the press conference. He was asked about $4 gas. We haven't seen $4 national average gas since 2022 coming out of the global pandemic. And there was great uproar about inflation and the fact that the supply chain had been backed up during COVID and not started sooner, and that we were seeing these inflationary pressures become very real. Now what we're hearing is a curious justification. Here, Jamie Dimon, as the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, say that what we have now is less of a global threat to our existential reality. And so this temporary disruption around affordability is reasonable. It's curious to me how now we have such public pandering from corporate leaders around what everybody knows is reckless conduct on the world stage, where you will start a war without legal authority, without clear justification, without identified outcomes that you're looking to achieve, and without a message to the people that you're supposedly starting this conflict for in the first place. And so what we're listening for tonight is answer D, all of the above. What is he going to say? Who is he going to address? What is going to be the substance? And then what's going to be the answer to the question, so what, when the speech is over?
Its impact from your perspective, Dr. Eury, I don't know anyone who's traveling the country more than you are, making the case for why people should be voting this coming November and in Democratic primary processes. Is it your sense that they will either vote the economy, their pocketbooks, or are they going to vote for this conflict? Where do you see, we've been told by Bill Clinton, we've been told by James Carville, it's the economy, stupid. Well, I thought it was the economy too. I hung around the economy. in my own campaign. But this war came right to the footsteps, or the doorsteps, if you will, of every single resident in our campaign, in our constituency, and it was brought, to their front doorstep largely by the American Israeli Political Action Committee.
So we have to remind ourselves that there are multiple audiences in the same conversation. And so if we're trying to pinpoint a single message, it's going to be hard to find. This is a midterm election cycle. And so there is no, quote, national theme. When we look at the 435 congressional districts, we have to then think about what is unique to the assessment of what is affecting the constituents in all 435 districts, and then tailor the message like it's almost like it's your PIN code. It may be the war in some districts. It may be affordability in others. It may be 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you know what are the ingredients to this cake that we're trying to bake? And then make sure that that message speaks to the baker, not just the buyer. And so we keep asking folks to vote their interests, but then we decide for them what that interest ought to be. And that's the most reckless approach to a midterm election when you're trying to avoid giving a president who already has no guardrails in unified government, right? There's no check on him. This Republican Party is not questioning his abuse of authority. And though we applaud the nature in which this Supreme Court questioned his lawyer today about birthright citizenship to the point where he got frustrated and went back to his safe place, which is Truth Social, to say it's stupid that we're the only country in the world that has birthright citizenship. He doesn't even understand why the United States positions itself and postures itself to be distinct from other countries. And so in this moment, we have to make him answer all of the questions, not just one or two. He's got to deal with affordability. He's got to wrestle with what is the just position in this country about how this government chooses not to prosecute convicted or not to pursue charges against those who have been charged. Police officers in Louisville, Kentucky, in the death of Breonna Taylor. He then pardons over 1,000 people who you can't miss. They weren't taking a tour that day on J6. He even mentions J6. He's bold enough now to be able to say he had courage to pardon those who did unpardonable things. We cannot just go into this speech tonight expecting him to answer a thing. We got to hold him accountable for everything that falls within his purview, since he decided he wanted to be president of the United States.
To your point, Dr. Uri, our mutual friend and a woman that you've worked with for decades in the social justice movement, Barbara Arnwine, was our guest on the program. And I shared with her, one, congratulations on the sheer size of the No Kings marches, which she has been a lead and critical organizer in since the inception of the No Kings protests. But I shared with her that what I found particularly amazing and very mature is that what started out as a No Kings One against tyranny then evolved to take into account contemporary issues that expanded the march beyond just tyranny to the real-time things that were happening by the tyrant. And then by the time we got to No Kings 3, we saw people carrying signs memorializing Alex Preddy and Nicole Good, and talking about immigrants and how they have been mistreated, and how the message itself, if there's anything to be learned from this, as the crowd begins to swell, to your point, it is multiple issues in these districts. There is no single Democratic message, but across 3 different No Kings marches, we've seen not only the growth and expansion, if you will, of a kind of rainbow coalition, but there's also been a rainbow coalition of ideas and thinking, because that which may compel me to participate in a No Kings march may not be the same thing that compels someone else to participate in a No Kings march. but in the final analysis, the marches are getting larger because all of our interests are beginning to be represented, and it points in one direction, that the vote that we have in the primary elections is sacred, that there is a serious challenge to democracy at this hour, and it's led by this administration and this absent Congress. Dr. Uri. I think you're muted, sir.
They go in their offices that we pay for every day. They just
Yes,
don't
sir.
do anything.
Mhm.
Last time I saw that if you were going to pay folks money for work that's not being performed, in some places that's criminal.
Mm.
Maybe we need to revisit that.
Mm.
But here's what's going on. You do not build a platform with one plank.
Mm.
We keep wanting to build a coalition around a singular issue.
Wow.
We've not learned from Reverend's modeling that when he spoke to a broad number of issues, because what affects you primarily may not be primary to me, it may be important to me. And so we've got to have the kind of conversation that allows us to have interpersonal, intergenerational, interregional conversations so that we can mutually invest in collective action that leads to an outcome that allows all of us to have voice in how these issues get addressed. To go and say that somehow or other this is only going to be an issue misses the fact that we keep trying to stand on a platform that's built with one board. That's called walking a tightrope. That's not how we build a coalition. And so if we're going to have this conversation, we should expect more from this president in what he may say tonight. And if he only comes away with one clear message addressing one issue, shame on us if we don't hold the Congress accountable for not demanding more of him. Because at the same time, there's a war over there, there's inflation over here, there is job loss over here, and there's even a conversation that if oil hits $150 a barrel in this climate, a recession in the United States is imminent.
Mm.
And those who get impacted is not the dude that draws a public salary and lives in public housing, the White House.
Mm.
It is the rest of us. We have to figure out how we're going to pay rent, pay mortgages, pay groceries, pay gas, go to work, try to protect our job, take care of our kids. That's the context that we have to bring while we're demanding protection for the right to vote, protection for the Constitution and its wording about birthplace citizenship. He's going after that because it allows then him to selectively identify who gets excluded from participating in the electoral process. All of this is his effort to set up a way to stay in office beyond the end of this next 4 years. It's a setup. Anybody that you talk to on the streets, hustlers who hustle for a living, know what this is all about. It's time for us to stop pretending that we are somehow curiously clueless about what games this president is really trying to play.
You know, let me try and build this quilt before we come forward. And I'm thinking about my father, I think in 1984, might have been 1988. If your concern is about ICE and immigration issues and how ICE are treating people within our community, that's an important patch. But your patch ain't big enough. If you're concerned about education for our children and paying our teachers the kind of money that they deserve, including health care and benefits, it's an important patch, but your patch isn't big enough. If you're a farmer and you're waiting for the Strait of Hormuz to open up today, and in the Strait of Hormuz, where not only petroleum moves through, but nitrogen and other critical components of the ways in which fertilizer are made, and you may in fact lose the planting season this year because there won't be enough fertilizer for corn and soybean. I know you're concerned at this hour, but your patch may not be big enough. If you're concerned about the price of bacon and how much chitlins are going to cost between now and the end of the summer, that may be your patch, but your patch is not big enough. But when we weave the pieces of this patch together and form a big, beautiful blanket, a big, beautiful quilt, maybe not a rainbow coalition, but a painbow coalition, since all of us are feeling it at the pump. When we build that coalition and we come together, we are the new majority in the United States of America. Dr. S. Todd Yeary is our very special guest on the politics of our faith with Dr. Yeary. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black Detroit Mayor Mary Sheffield used her State of the City address to highlight new youth and neighborhood initiatives.
In many ways, Mumford's story mirrors Detroit's. The highs of prominence and the lows of decline.
She announced free bus rides for all K-12 students, a major increase in after-school funding, and new efforts to improve senior and affordable housing across the city. Black Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott highlighted falling crime, youth investments, and infrastructure plans during his State of the City address. He also announced new programs to help seniors eliminate property tax debt, assist renters with deposits, lower energy costs, and address the city's overdose response plan and upcoming budget. And Memphis police have placed 4 officers on leave after protesters were pepper sprayed and arrested during the No Kings demonstrations. Black Mayor Paul Young says the officers will remain off duty pending an internal investigation. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Are you looking for your next European adventure? Think Poland. From its historic cities to all of the UNESCO landmarks and its incredible food. Modern, safe, welcoming. Get inspired at Poland.travel.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers won their 4th straight and 50th game of the season Monday night. They beat Cleveland 127-113 at Crypto.com. The surging Lakers are 13-1 in their last 14 games and were 15-2 in March. They also clinched a playoff spot in the Western Conference with last night's win. The Lakers are 3rd in the West behind Oklahoma City and San Antonio. Luka Doncic had 42 points and 12 assists. LeBron dropped 14 points and added another record to his 23-year resume. LeBron has now played in 1,229 NBA games. He moved ahead of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar last night for the most games played in NBA history, regular season and playoffs. 2 years ago, LeBron passed Kareem to become the NBA's all-time leading scorer. The Clippers lost at home last night to Portland 114-104. Portland snapped the Clippers' 5-game winning streak. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Paid for by government. The 1986 to 2021 United States Silver Eagle, the first ever U.S. silver dollar minted in 99.9% pure silver and is the best-selling coin in the world. These original and historic silver dollars have ceased production forever. They will never be minted again. For a limited time only, full pound bags of original U.S. government-struck silver dollars are being released to the public. You can own a full pound of original U.S. silver dollar coins featuring Lady Liberty and the heraldic eagle, never to be struck again. and guaranteed. Call now to secure original United States Silver Eagles by the pound, the first U.S. silver dollars ever to be struck in 99.9% pure silver. Plus, receive a free bonus, an American Collector's Pack valued at over $40 and free shipping with every order. Call 1-800-560-6468 now to secure your full pound bag of United States Silver Eagle coins before they are gone. That's 1-800-560-6468.
Stand up! When the story gets twisted, who's going to tell the truth? When they cut the microphones, who's still talking? When history gets rewritten, who remembers what really happened? We do. KBLA Talk 1580. Black media isn't just important right now, it's essential. Because when mainstream outlets move on, we stay. When the headlines ignore our communities, we don't. When decisions are being made that affect Black lives in our schools, our neighborhoods, our economy, KBLA is in the room. This is more than radio. This is a lifeline, a record, a rallying cry. Black stories, Black voices, Black power.
The heat is on.
On the air and in the culture. KBLA Talk 1580. Stay connected. Stay informed. Stay loud.
Stand up!
They say time flies when you're having fun. The founding members cohort is now officially over. Hard to believe. It's been a joy sharing what I've discovered after nearly 40 years of conversations with presidents, cultural icons, and game changers in every field of human endeavor. If you missed the first cohort, the good news is that we're already planning the next one. Now, the seats will be limited, and those on our waiting list will receive exclusive early access and special discounts not available to the general public. So, if you are ready to transform the way you connect, lead, and build trust, do not hesitate. Go to TavishTalks.com and join the waiting list today. That's TavishTalks.com. The next cohort is coming. Make sure you are in the room. I'm Tavish Smiley, and I hope to see you there.
Hi, I'm Dominique DePrima from the KBLA Morning Show, First Things First, which comes on every weekday from 6 to 9 a.m. If you've got something to say, this is the place for you. I take phone calls every hour, and you can communicate with our delegation in the comments as we stream live on youtube.com/KBLA1580. We also feature expert guests, news, and analysis. It's going down every weekday on KBLA Talk 1580.
BET and PBS, the Tom Joyner Morning Show, and NPR, the cover of Jet and the cover of Time. #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list, 20 honorary doctorate degrees, a dozen NAACP Image Awards, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. From talk shows to talk radio, nobody's ever done it better. You like that? This is Tavis Smiley. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Wally, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
Junior, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Dr. S. Yeary, principal of the Yeary Firm, a Maryland-based litigation and government relations firm, also serves as the senior pastor of the Douglas Memorial Community Church of Baltimore, Maryland, and affiliates. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and to your show, The Politics of Our Faith.
It is hot and heavy today. There's a lot going on.
Dr. Yeary, today the President of the United States became the first sitting President of the United States to sit through an oral argument in the Supreme Court over birthright citizenship. And my producer reminded me during this break of a particular scene in the movie Godfather where Mr. Pantangeli is before the Senate and he's being questioned, and a representative of the Corleone family walks in there with Mr. Pantangeli's brother. And the senator says, Mr. Mr. Pantangeli, do you know the Corleone crime family? And he says, no, I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't know nobody named Corleone. Mr. Pantangeli, your affidavit here says that you worked with Corleone. I never met the Corleones. I don't know the Corleones. Here you've stated that you've seen and witnessed murders take place. You've seen and witnessed this type of, I ain't never seen no murder. I'm deaf in this one ear right here, and I can't hear what you're saying. And so I couldn't resist. Dr. Yeary, as a practicing lawyer in courtrooms, the first president of the United States to sit in the court with the justices and intimidate them while they're hearing birthright citizenship. Your thoughts, Dr. Yeary?
Well, first thought is to give this president the benefit of the doubt, since we know he didn't pass civics. Maybe this was what we would call a field trip. So he brought Secret Service to be his chaperone so he could sit in the gallery and be able to say, all right, I need to know better how these courts work. To certainly present himself as if his presence would sway some of the justices, particularly the ones he has appointed, is a very crass move of just immeasurable arrogance. To, though, for the court to be able to recognize that here's a moment for this bench of jurists to prove to this president and everybody else that they are an independent and co-equal branch of government, to say we are not your servants, we are your peer in terms of our responsibility of how this government works, because the Constitution says a third of the operation belongs to the Congress, Article 1, a third of the responsibility to take care that the laws are faithfully executed, that's the executive, the president, that's Article 2, and then the judiciary is Article 3. Though they are third in sequence, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, this president put himself in the position where they were first in priority because it's their court. So hopefully he's learned something there, but he's also going to learn that, one, his lawyers were not sharp. They're not clear on the law. They don't understand how the Constitution works. And that this court, if it's going to maintain its credibility, if they come back with anything other than a unanimous rebuke of this president's efforts to affect birthright citizenship by executive fiat, then while we have a president that's known to be kind of bold and bullyish, what we don't want to see is a holding or reasoning from this court that is less than unanimous, and therefore makes this court really kind of timid in the face of tyrannical power.
Todd, but there are issues before the court, and from my perspective, before the Department of Justice, that would suggest in any stretch of the imagination that this was an intimidating move. For example, Justice Clarence Thomas. If he doesn't have them, he should have issues before the Department of Justice for accepting gifts. And the President of the United States determines whether or not the Department of Justice moves forward in his ethically compromised behavior, accepting gifts on the court. There are other justices where ethical concerns have been raised. And some of those ethical concerns are issues that too were before the court, to which may have influenced opinions. And so to look out and see a person who has complete control over the Department of Justice and the future of some of the sitting jurists. If that isn't seen as a form of intimidation that we have never seen before in the history of this country, I don't know what is. I'm going to go one step further. There's a reason why presidents don't go before the Supreme Court and listen to these, for the very reasons that Donald Trump, I would argue, went before the Supreme Court. To let them know that he knows enough about some of them, given his operation in Washington and in the Department of Justice, that they are compromised in this process as well. Now, you're not going to see a single article written anywhere in the United States about the compromised justices who should have cases before the Department of Justice until John Roberts essentially said, we will handle all of these issues internally as a court and not allow Congress or even the executive branch to determine the ethical behavior of members of the court. And yet, the chief law enforcement official for the nation sat before the Supreme Court. And I might even add, at one of the states of the union, Dr. Yeary, the president literally shook the Chief Justice's hand and said, what? As he's walking out, caught on a hot mic. Thank you for looking out for me. I owe you one. What does that mean? Thank you for looking out for me, Todd. I owe you one.
Yes. The president thinks that the government works for him. And so when we have this conversation, we need to talk about the structure so that folks understand what really happened today.
The structure of the government when we come forward with Dr. S. Todd Yeary. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Dr. Yeary when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Created with a share of the 1984 Olympic Games surplus, LA 84 began operations in 1985 as a grant-making and educational foundation. Today, the LA 84 Foundation supports hundreds of nonprofit youth sports organizations throughout Southern California annually, trains coaches, commissions research, convenes conferences, and maintains the world's premier Olympic and sports library collection. They are transforming lives and communities through the power of youth sports. To find out about youth sports programs for yourself or your child, and to get information about the grants and support they offer to schools and nonprofits, or if you want to make a donation, please visit la84.org. That's la84.org. Or you can call them at 323-730-4600. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Angela was. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $80,000. Felicia was having health problems, got behind on her taxes, interest and penalties were adding up. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $15,000. Civic Tax Relief is a professional tax negotiation firm that can protect you from the IRS. If you're getting collection letters, call Civic Tax Relief for a free consultation. They will go to work helping you discover all the relief programs you may qualify for free. James owed the IRS $37,000. Civic Tax Relief represented him against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, he did not owe the IRS anything. If you are in trouble with the IRS, call Civic Tax Relief for your free consultation now. 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257. Get a free consultation and real tax relief. Call 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. At the heart of the Al Wooten Center's mission for good citizenship and academic excellence is a desire to ensure that every student avoids the kind of lifestyle and overcomes the kinds of challenges that led to the murder of Al Wooten Jr. In 1990, founder Myrtle Fay Rumpf opened the center in honor of her son's life. In 2026, they are serving more than 300 students in grades 3 through 12 annually online and on site at their youth center and other sites in the South LA area. The Al Wooten Jr. Youth Center takes a neighborhood approach to the revitalization and empowerment of a community in crisis. The Wooten Center provides free after-school and summer programs to help students in grades 3 through 12 attain grade-level proficiency and promotion, high school graduation, and college and career access and success. The Al Wooten Center focuses on academics, STEM, the arts, and so much more. Join them for an enriching experience that sparks creativity and nurtures young minds. Tap in at WootenCenter.org. That's WootenCenter.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. So let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver Card is at table 27 and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Hey, LA. Tax money is our money. Let's decide how to spend it together. We deserve investments that actually make our neighborhoods safe, like affordable housing, good jobs, fire prevention and protection, and community support programs. How can we make that happen? Join Black Lives Matter Los Angeles and the Movement for Black Lives for the People's Budget Assembly on April 16th. Together, we'll discuss solutions to problems we're facing and make a plan with fellow Angelinos for a city that works for the people. There'll be food, childcare, and great conversation. It's time to demand a budget that puts the people first. Join us on April 16th at 7 p.m. at BLMLA's Center for Black Power and make your voice heard before the Assembly through the People's Budget Survey. Register today at peoplesbudgetla.com. We'll see you there.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download that.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. In our previous segment, Dr. Yeary was going to share with us the structure of government, but I do want to share very quickly, Dr. Yeary, the structure behind the structure. Several Supreme Court justices have received gifts, with Clarence Thomas receiving the most, over 100 gifts, and luxury trips worth millions over 2 decades from benefactors like Harlan Crow. Other justices receiving significant disclosed gifts and travel include Samuel Alito, Chief Justice John Roberts. And according to the analysis from Fix the Court and Financial Disclosures, the following justices have reported or been identified as accepting gifts. Accepted, Clarence Thomas, hundreds of gifts, including private jet travel, yacht excursion, and luxury stays. Samuel Alito reported significant gifts, including luxury fishing trips and private flights. John Roberts disclosed gifts, including honorary club memberships and items like personalized sports gear. Hey, I say this, Dr. Yeary, because sitting in the audience as the first president of the United States, when some of these justices have ethical problems that are not even in dispute, I read something else into it. I expect you all to do me a solid because I'm doing you all a solid. That's what I see. Anyway, Dr. Yeary, you were going to share with us just before the break your thoughts on the structure of government.
I think what you lay out is the fundamental problem with our current understanding of how this Republican form of government that we call a democracy works. There has never in the history of the country been a criminal prosecution of a sitting justice of the U.S. Supreme Court. There's only been one impeachment, which is the raising of charges, and that was Justice Chase. Another resignation before impeachment could happen in the late 60s. So this president has demonstrated to a court that he doesn't understand who has the power. Now, if the Speaker of the House had shown up, knowing that the House gets to impeach, meaning level charges, and the Senate Majority Leader comes, because the Senate has to have the trial and convict, maybe a little differently. What this president continues to show us is that the reason he is so reckless with the power that he does have is because he still has not come to grips with the power that he does not have. And so it is important that those who know they have power use their power legitimately and effectively, so that the bully doesn't just show up and decide that everybody must conform to his view of reality because they sat down in the game of Monopoly and started rolling the dice and they've never read the rules.
Very powerful, Dr. Uri. Very, very powerful. Intimidation. I mean, that's what I see in the administration. He's obviously sidestepped his own consequences in indictment and incarceration with 34 felonies. The court gave him a way out with the immunity decision. He has ignored constitutional norms and processes. And this is clearly someone who believes in intimidation. And his behavior domestically with political enemies, his behavior internationally with world leaders, that he uses the U.S. military to arrest, intimidate, or remove from their countries in the name of something called unprovoked regime change because he wants a nickel on a gallon of gas. It's just hard for me to accept that when the president of the United States, who has shown no intellectual curiosity, if you asked him tomorrow, what is the last book you've read, there will be no answer. If you ask him tomorrow or even today, what's the last audio book you've listened to, there'll be no curiosity. If you asked him what poetic sonnet that he's memorized, he won't cite one. There's no curiosity here. He simply shows up to intimidate. Does he understand the arguments? Is he listening to the arguments? I don't think so. I think he's sending a signal. I dare you to cross me on this one. And there are consequences for your behavior if you do. Dr. S. Todd Uri, a word of hope.
The word of hope in this is a saying. Those who know don't tell. Those who tell don't know. Those who have power don't need to run around talking about I've got the power. They just use it in ways that is metered in a way that shows they respect the power that they have because it's not a given. Here's where I leave it as we listen to what this president will say tonight. Though it might be annoying, don't run from it. Though it might be frustrating, don't ignore it. Listen to it. Listen critically to it because there will be a tell in what he says. And so this segment is called The Politics of Our Faith. The weight of the world is constantly upon the people, and it presses us to the edges of our faith, often to the point where we don't know where we're going to go or how we're going to maintain even naive optimism. But the politics of our faith is about disciplined conviction. It is our belief that light still shines in dark places, that justice is still possible even when it is delayed, and that collective action can still turn broken systems into moral repair. And so the politics of our faith calls us to a higher vision, not just of what we oppose, but what we are committed to in building together, communities grounded in compassion, voices lifted for the voiceless, leaders shaped by service more than ambition. So when we hear the president tonight, hold fast to hope, not as a sentiment, but as a strategy, and a strategy that refuses to surrender the future to fear.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special regular contributor has been Dr. S. Todd Yeary, who's the principal of the Yeary Firm. He's also the pastor of the Douglas Memorial Community Church of Baltimore, Maryland. He was the executive director and advisor to the late Reverend Jesse Jackson, as well as an advisor to Reverend Al Sharpton at the forefront of civil rights throughout the United States, one of the most trusted advisors in that space. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show right here on KBLA Talk 1580. We'll see you tomorrow.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.